Hey everybody, we're here with Austin Stubbs today. Austin is running for State House District
45. Yep.
In Ankeny, right?
That is Runnels, Mitchellville, Bondurant, Elkhart, Alleman, Polk City. So just kind of skips the northern part of Ankeny.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so like kind of around the east side of Des Moines metro area.
Yep,
east of Altoona.
Yep, exactly.
And you were raised in Runnels.
Born and raised in Runnels. Yeah. Well, I would have considered where I raised in the country back then.
Yeah.
The area's been really developed since then, and the land was annexed into Pleasant Hill. But yeah, born and raised on a farm in the country in Runnels, and yeah, a lot of love for the district.
Yeah, so Austin's one of our supported representatives for Iowa Liberty Network, so we really believe in everything he's doing. But like, I want people to know the Austin Stubbs that's running. Yeah. So can you tell us about what growing up on a farm in Runnels was like? Like, what was your family? And you take that in any direction you like.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I grew up just wanting to be a cowboy. I think like a lot of boys do in the state of Iowa. Riding horses, riding dirt bikes, four-wheelers.
Oh, man.
Shooting guns and listening to Johnny Cash with my grandpa. That was pretty much my childhood. He had this little sort of trailer that he had parked in the farm, and we would just kind of shoot guns out of it. And he had a collection of probably 100 plus different guns of all different, rifles, shotguns, handguns.
Gosh, that's a dream for a little kid.
It was incredible. And we just hung out. It was a big, about a 500, 750 acre farm at one point, and he knew where every tree was. He knew where the blackberry, boysenberry bushes were, or whatever.
Did he grow up on it, or what was his connection to the land? How did he get
it? He grew up in the Sadell school district area. Okay. Him and my grandma went to Woodside, which was Sadell before it went, and he graduated from there, and then they moved to Bondurant, which is part of this district, and raised their family, my dad. In a farm in Bondurant. They graduated from the Bondurant school district. My dad and his siblings did. And so generational ties and love for the district. And he bought this farm maybe 50 years ago when there wasn't much around.
It was like $1,000 an acre, probably. Probably less than that. Yeah,
probably less. Yeah. And it was just his dream farm. And that's when it was really truly kind of in the country. And on that farm, eventually he built a house for his son, my dad, and his daughter, my aunt.
Wow.
And then ultimately for him and my really grandma.
Cool. So then your dad did your dad and mom obviously raised you there? Do you have siblings and things like that?
3 siblings, older brother, younger brother, and then youngest sister.
Awesome.
Older brother is married and has 5 little kids.
Very nice.
Which is a lot of fun. And then my youngest sister, she's married to a guy in the Air Force. Okay. And they're all over the country. And then my younger brother is married as well.
What kind of trouble did you get into with your siblings on the farm?
I was kind of that middle child that got into as much trouble as I could on the farm. Yeah. So pretty much anything that you can imagine, from falling through the frozen pond in the middle of the winter to flipping four-wheelers and dirt bikes and getting kicked off horses and getting lit on fire. Anything you can think of that. That's country boys do, I guess.
I love that. That's how every kid should grow up. I'm a homeschool kid, and we weren't on a farm, but big family. And just get you get into trouble, and that's just like, I feel like education is it's a burden for a lot of kids, and it's just tough to things. I know like that's a big thing for you in your campaign. So what got you into politics? Like, at what point in your life were you like, oh, this might be something I might like to do?
Yeah, there were really 2 specific moments for me. The first one piqued my desire, and then the second one was when I knew I was going to do it. And so in the years, or in the time that I spent in Europe, I was over there for a little bit. In 2020.
Oh, I meant to ask you about that. Please tell. So you're a football coach in Europe, right?
Yes. So I played American football professionally for 4 seasons.
Okay.
And then coached professionally for 3 seasons over there in Europe. So it was a different country, a different sort of 1-season contract each year.
Wow.
And that kind of led me to 23. I was in Germany.
Okay.
And just everywhere I went, there was the American flag.
Yep.
There's all the international flags. There's the American flag, and right underneath the American flag was always flown the LGBTQ flag.
Oh, man.
And I saw this all over Germany, 2023, and I went to Brandenburg Gate, or a day in Berlin. Went to Brandenburg Gate, and there it's a beautiful scenery. Obviously, this historical. There's all the flags lined up there at the top. And again, right below the American flag is the LGBTQ flag. And we had just become the symbol of wokeness internationally. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to seriously consider getting involved. And the second moment for me was when I came back and I was working at Meals from the Heartland. I heard this story about how Governor Reynolds wanted to send all these meals over to Ukraine, and how she came in and, it takes us months sometimes to fundraise and to develop the infrastructure to be able to send the amount of meals that she was able to come in, sign her signature, and all those meals were going over. And it was right then and there that I realized if I'm going to have the impact that I want to have, I need to get involved in policy.
You need power.
That's right.
The vision.
That's right. And a week later, I was meeting with some head advisors and people heavily involved, and kind of made the decision right there that I was gonna run. So,
So did you get connected with like local county politics, like central committee kind of thing first? Was that the first step?
Kind of, yeah. I am part of Polk County Central Committee. Have done some stuff with them, but really more of just like a grassroots approach is what I've taken.
Good for you.
Maybe the road not always traveled, I guess. I've gotten some advice early on from some great individuals, great legislators, and one of the advices that they gave me was don't always be in the room where it's the same people every time.
You're totally right.
Try to branch out.
Good advice.
And that's why, sometimes it's hard for me when I think, okay, this event that I go to every month, every Tuesday, it's a 2-hour deal. Takes me 30 minutes to get there or whatever, so it's a 3-hour deal. I could go meet 30, 40 new people at the doors during that period. And so that's kind of been my approach is I'm going to go, I took his advice. I'm going to go meet new people.
And, I mean, you're wearing the Charlie Kirk Freedom shirt, right? Like, he was the guy that knew, like, he went out and talked to the people that nobody was talking to. Like, especially on the conservative Republican side, like, what I grew up in was basically colleges are a lost cause, and you just, what is the saying that everybody likes to say? At 20, if you're a conservative, you have no heart, and at 40, if you're a liberal, you have no head. And that was just kind of the mindset that I grew up around in kind of conservative politics, and it's just totally wrong-headed in that, like, no, if there's a right philosophy, it's right no matter what age you're at. And I just so much appreciate that you're out there, like, talking to the people that, well, maybe disagree with you or whatever. Like, I mean, you're not going to agree every time, but you got to hash through the issues, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's our system, right? We're a constitutional republic. And the people elect an official that is going to represent their values. And so I'm out there and I'm meeting these people and I'm seeing what's important to them. And we're not always going to agree on everything, on every issue and in the entire platform. But I bet we can find common ground on almost every issue. And I bet that there's a way that we can have that discussion in a calm, maybe even a loving or kind way. And so that's kind of been my focus. And this shirt was actually given to me.
Really?
In Bondurant.
Okay.
Knocking the doors. I was just knocking around. Knocked on this family's house, and I think we had some family connection from the past. And they're like, hey, I just ordered, 20 of these shirts. Do you want one? I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And so sure enough, I wear it, and almost everywhere I go, people are like, oh, great shirt, man. I appreciate you wearing that. And so it's kind of cool. It's unifying in and of itself.
It's just so, like, I'm sure you have your own Charlie stories. Like, I mean, just what a guy, what an influence he was on just our movement and just making it okay to be conservative again. And in a way that, for me at least, was he figured out how to deliver the message with firm conviction, no compromise, and love, right? I mean, there is one of the things we lost, like, we kind of felt very insecure as conservatives, I think, for a lot of years in standing up for what we saw as common sense, but we felt like, well, maybe that is right. Maybe we're not very loving, or maybe, with the whole immigration thing that has been such an issue in the last, 10 or 20 years, Well, yeah, the Bible does talk about, we ought to love the stranger, and like, why is that? Well, I just so much appreciated how Charlie brought to the surface that like there is such thing as toxic empathy, and there's weaponized like compassion, basically. So, I mean, how have you navigated that? Like, I mean, I feel like are a really strong candidate on like just your conviction and talking about freedom and liberty and defending the the American values. Like, how have you come to those conclusions? Like what?
Yeah, I think just my upbringing. I was blessed to have been raised in a strong faith-based family.
Yeah.
And my principles and morals and standards were developed during my upbringing with great grandparents and great parents and a great family surrounding me. True roots. Yeah. Foundational roots.
Yeah.
Iowa roots, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's where it started for me. And I'm just someone who's going to hold firm on my beliefs.
Yeah.
And I think that you can love someone and still love law and order.
Yeah.
I think you can love someone and still have conviction. I think you can love someone and still hold firm on your beliefs and your values. And that's kind of the approach that I'm trying to bring.
Right.
I think it's maybe a little bit of a different or unique approach than what we see generally.
Yeah.
But I think we got a lot of great voices out there that are very polarizing.
Yeah.
That are very, polarizing is probably the right word.
Right.
I want to be that voice of like, hey, let's unify.
Yeah.
Let's unify this group. And I think that kind of those things working hand in hand will be very effective.
Yeah, and I just think one of the things I always try to harp on when I'm going around and sharing, with different groups is we must unify.
Yeah.
But the question is, it comes back to this identity question around America. So, well, maybe I ought to let you like just respond to like, well, what is it that we unify around? What are the things that make us American? Like in the Austin Stubbs perspective, where do we unify around? I think a lot of people are wondering that. We know that we need to unify. A lot of us do, but it's like, okay, well, I always end up in a fight with somebody about some political issue if I try to do that, and then I tend up trying to like, convince them over to my side. They try to convince me to their side. Nobody agrees. So where are the places where we can agree and like what the sort of foundational building blocks of America?
Yeah, I'd say let's start with the American dream. So when I think of the settlers that came over, they were looking for three things. They were looking for religious freedom.
Yep.
They're looking to be unburdened from over taxation. And they're looking for land ownership.
Yeah.
That was the American dream. And I think we need to protect those things. We need to protect those things then. We need to protect those things now. And that's the American dream. And that's protecting those things is a huge part of my campaign. I know we talked about this a little bit offline, but I see the conservative movement, especially in Iowa, as sort of three groups.
Yeah.
I see the faith-based group that would say that's sinful.
Yeah.
I see the tradition. I see the tradition-based group as that's not how I was raised. And I see the more of the common sense group as that just ain't right.
Yeah.
And these are sort of different approaches, but it's the same conservative movement. And I want to unify that movement into one strong group of conservatism.
Yeah.
I think we can if we can stick to the American dream. What is the American dream? What were the principles that this country was founded on?
Say those one more time. There's land ownership. And the coming here for lower taxes.
Yep. Not being burdened by overtaxation.
And there's a third one.
Yep. No burden from taxation, and then religious freedom.
And religious freedom. Yeah. Americans, we tend to think of it as totally unthinkable that would be taken away from us. But I like just an interesting story that I have. Well, a couple things. So I'm a January 6th defendant and story, and like I have part of my story is I ended up on January 6th praying at the Senate chamber floor, and I don't necessarily think I had the right to be there. Maybe I should have been charged with trespassing or something like that. But there's two things in our law that are very precious to us, or at least we say they are as Americans. And one is the free to exercise of religion, which is what I was doing there. Now, maybe I shouldn't have been there. That's a fair point. But the other thing is equal justice under the law. So another guy who was there is by the name of Luke Mogelson. He's a reporter for the New Yorker, the magazine, The New Yorker. He was right there standing right next to me. And he took pictures of me. And the government used the pictures that he took of me to prove that I was there. Which again, I was there. I wasn't trying to deny that. And if I needed to face a punishment for that, no problem. But the issue is, he was there and didn't even get charged with a crime. He had the same authorization that I did. The only difference in our actions was my religious exercise. So there is a serious like threat to our religious freedom, because like people are drawing a distinction in our criminal justice system, like between like especially in Washington D.C. Like, I mean, if you were a Trump supporter on January 6th, you were in big trouble. But anyway, all that to say is like religious freedom is like, we have to, this is a hill that it's worth dying on, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, have you seen, do you have any stories of like religious freedom, like where you have had to stand up for it, or you've seen it threatened and like that was a place where you were unwilling to compromise? It's schools, anything like that? Like,
I wouldn't say I have a personal anecdote from that. I mean, this is something very important to me, right? Yeah. Going back to those 3 foundational components to the American dream, certainly something we need to protect. Protecting business owners, from, you know, that we've heard those stories of the cake owner that didn't want to provide the cake for the gay wedding. You know, we have to be able to protect. I think it's the conscience clause or something similar. We have to be able to protect our business owners from being able to hold to their religious beliefs as well. Thinking about that time in Minnesota here recently, where these protesters, you know, came into the church and disrupted the religious service. I mean,
did you hear today? Don Lemon just got arrested this morning.
Good, good,
right.
I mean, that guy was absolutely complicit in all of that, and you know, But yeah, I think you know it's going the wrong way. I heard a story on the Megyn Kelly show of I think there were so there was a girl who wanted to enter the boys' locker room. Yeah, and there was 3 boys that were like, you know, what are you doing in here? You shouldn't be in here. She ended up recording them, getting them in trouble. And there was 2 Christian boys, and then I think one, I don't know what his religion was, non-Christian. Yeah. And the charges got dropped for the 3rd boy who was not a Christian, and the 2 boys who were Christians got suspended. Yeah. You know, it's these type of stories that I think are all over. That are happening maybe on a small or micro doses, but are leading to a lack of religious freedom in our country.
And the interesting thing is we have the laws on the books to protect us, right? The First Amendment and then other things that allegedly protect Christians. But what we're finding is that at the prosecution level, at the investigation level, which is like, you know, county attorney or U.S. attorney doing prosecutions, or FBI agent or police officer doing the investigation, and then at the people on the bench, the judges, are in practice invalidating religious freedom and weaponizing other laws and then treating people unequally to undermine it. So they realize they're never going to change religious freedom in the law in America. This is America. But we are asleep at the wheel as people, because what we've like right now, what's going on with the like President Trump has only, I believe, 25% of his U.S. attorney candidates confirmed by the Senate. And it's because there's this tradition in the Senate that, which not confirmed means they're not allowed to practice. Like he basically can't enforce the law the way the people elected him to enforce the law. Like the Constitution says, executive authorities invested in the president, right? So because of the way Congress is behaving, specifically the Senate, and actually it's our senator, Chuck Grassley, that's honoring this Senate tradition of, they call it the blue slip. I don't even know why it's called that. But what the in practice reality of it is that we, the people, aren't getting the laws enforced by our executive that we elected. And that's a major threat to religious freedom, because it doesn't matter what the law says if the people enforcing the law just undermine it, right? Like,
no kidding.
That's what we talk about, like this kind of wrangling the government to behave the way we, the people, want it to. I mean, how do you have any thoughts on like how we're so far down this road? Like, what can be done to get the machinery of our government to behave according to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, you know?
Yeah, clean the swamp, right?
Yeah.
We got to get individuals elected that are going to hold firm on their values and are not going to fold to donors or an establishment movement or any other reason, right?
Right.
And I think that's a huge part, is getting those elected officials in there. But I think also continuing the momentum of the Charlie Kirk movement.
Yeah.
This sort of awakening, I would say,
yeah,
of the conservative movement. We got to continue the momentum of that and say, you know, these are things that we're not going to fold on. These are things that we're not going to overlook.
Right.
These are foundational to our country.
Yeah.
And as a grassroots movement, we're also going to continue to advocate for these things as well. So I think it's maybe a two-sided approach. Get conservatives in there that are real conservatives and are actually going to hold firm.
Right.
But also on a grassroots movement, like how do we keep that momentum going?
How do we keep it going? Well, I mean, and one of the things we must do, and you do such a good job of this in your profession, which we can talk about, caring for the powerless, for the trafficked, for the kids that have no protection in their own locker rooms in a school. So can you tell us about, you work for Dorothy's House in Des Moines. Can you tell us about what Dorothy's House is and just like what you guys stand for there?
Yeah, Dorothy's House is a safe house for survivors of human trafficking. Residential program. So we have a crisis emergency housing and then a restoration program and then an independent living space for them to live independently. So this is unfortunately a major issue in our country, but it's a major issue in Iowa.
Yeah.
And something that we need to continue to bring awareness to in the state of Iowa. We kind of have that Iowa nice where we think there's no way that would happen or could happen here.
Yeah.
But unfortunately it is happening. And there's just a lot of areas that we can improve, both from awareness of the people, but from a legislative piece as well, the laws that we need to get in place. The prosecution needs to improve as well. So it's a multifaceted approach if we want to get serious about eradicating or dramatically reducing at least human trafficking in Iowa.
Yeah, I heard one of our representatives, I'm forgetting the name right now, but he was talking about we just recently passed some laws, right, that really improve our ability to prosecute at a state level human trafficking crimes. But he was talking about the enforcement of it, and this is whole getting back to the thing of getting the government to behave according to the way that we the people want it to. And he wanted to draw a contrast and just kind of paint the picture of what some of the challenges of getting our government to do that is. And so in our Department of Public Safety in Des Moines, which is basically the cops, they have assigned, I think, 60-some people to run security for casinos in Iowa. And how many people are assigned to prosecute human trafficking crimes?
I've heard there's only 2, I think.
That's what I heard. I mean, come on, guys.
2?
And like these casinos can't afford their own security personnel?
Right?
Come on.
Right? I know, right? Yeah, I think the enforcement is certainly the other piece of that as well, like you mentioned. And we have to be able to allocate the correct resources to this. And then also get these guys the training. I mean, these are law enforcement. These are amazing guys. They got a lot of issues and a lot of things they got to worry about. But they don't I think they get like an hour or 2 hours of human trafficking training, and then they got to go deal with
nothing.
I mean, all the situations that they encounter. So I think we got to be able to empower our law enforcement. Provide them allocate the resources that they need, provide them the training that they need. Because without the enforcement, there's not going to be prosecution.
And one of the things from your website that you talk about is for the victims providing, I think you call it like trauma-informed care rather than prosecution. Because one of the things that happens is, well, you should just tell us what happens to somebody who's trying to get rescued, like a woman who's coming out of trafficking. She comes to Dorothy's house, and can you just tell us some of the pitfalls and trials and tribulations that these people face?
Oh, I mean, it's such a long list, but
we're here to hear it. We got to get this fixed in Iowa. In everywhere, but in Iowa,
Yeah, truly. I mean, the trauma that these women have experienced is truly, unlike, anything that we can imagine in our lives typically. But oftentimes there's forced substance use. And with the force also comes different criminal activity. Sometimes recruiting other gals or obviously.
That's a great way to control somebody. Get them addicted to heroin, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And so which is
a crime, so then the person can't go to law enforcement.
And that's one of the major issues is if we want to get to the bottom of this, we have to be able to treat the survivors not as necessarily as victims, as survivors, not as individuals that we want to prosecute and we want to throw in prison. Because at the end of the day, if you're thinking of it from the prosecution's perspective, sadly, that gal is just going to be replaced. And so even if you want to throw her in prison, she's just going to be replaced. And that's sad on multiple levels. We have to treat them like human beings.
Yeah. Yep.
Individuals who have experienced incredible levels of trauma, and that when they're able to help us get to the traffickers or get to the demand side, the buyers, we have to be able to empower them to do that and truly take a trauma-informed approach when we're communicating with them, rather than an interrogation type approach, where you're just trying to extract information from this individual and then you're just going to lock them up. I think if we can create a culture in the state of Iowa where if you're a survivor of human trafficking, we're going to help you. We're going to assist you. We're going to empower you. We're going to give you the services that you need, and that we're going to allow you to share information about the traffickers, about the buyers. I think that is one of a few pieces, but that's one piece that certainly is going to create a culture in the state of Iowa of let's work to eradicating human trafficking. It's so
important too. And a lot of people get hung up on the idea that, which is partially true, that, our laws need to be enforced and justice must be done. But I just like to remind people, like, Declaration of Independence says the purpose for government is what? To secure the rights that we are endowed by our Creator with of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So that means every law that we have is subject to that criteria, which means it doesn't matter if somebody who's trafficked has committed a crime to do with like heroin addiction or something. The purpose of government is to secure the rights of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. So there might be many different ways that we respond to that. And from a moral perspective, the blood of Jesus is enough for whatever wrong she's done or has been done to her, and he can pay for that price is paid. So morally, we have every authority to forgive her if to the degree that it's wise to forgive and restore. And that we should act with wisdom, though. Like, this person may be a danger to society. Like, maybe they do need to be locked up. Maybe, but we just have to recognize that the law is not helping us if it's not establishing peace in society.
Yeah.
We just got to get there, right?
Yeah, and these survivors have not experienced pursuit of happiness, liberty, or life.
Yeah.
They haven't been able to experience their true life. So those things have been completely stripped from them.
Right.
And that's, I think, something important that we all recognize.
Yeah, and the tragedy is and I don't know about these individual stories, but the government's responsibility is to secure those rights for them, which could be assaulted by their employer. A lot of them, it's their own family. A lot of these girls are trafficked by their own dads. It could be by their religion, and it could be by the actual government. The thing, all the stories of the cross-border human trafficking during the Biden administration and how awful that was, that is a total perversion of what government's responsibility is. The thing that's supposed to protect these people was actually trafficking them. Yeah.
Safe borders is certainly a major piece to reducing human smuggling across the border, which leads to human trafficking.
Right.
Absolutely. But I mean, that's one piece. I think in Iowa,
the
legislature's done a great job at increasing penalties for traffickers. Right now, it's a Class A felony, life in prison for if you've trafficked a minor, which is great.
And we thank you, all of you legislators who worked on that.
That's extremely helpful.
Yeah.
But I think there's more to do. We need to increase penalties for buyers.
Yeah.
I have a lot of these conversations in coffee shops.
Yeah, so that's a big one for you as buyers. Can you tell us about it makes sense, but please share.
Yeah, it's the human trafficking industry is just like any other industry. There's a supply and there's a demand. And, if we catch the trafficker and we throw them in prison, they're just going to replace that trafficker with somebody else, right? And let me bring it back to the coffee analogy. And because, like I said, I have a lot of these conversations in coffee shops. If you take the barista and you throw in prison or whatever, they're just going to find a new barista to replace her.
Of course.
Okay, that's a trafficker. If you take the coffee beans, and you throw them all away, they're just going to find something else to sell.
Yeah. So or even if that coffee shop goes out of business, another one opens up down the street.
That's the gal.
Yeah.
But if you take everyone who wanted to buy the coffee or wanted to buy the pastries, and you take them all out of there, and no one wants to buy them anymore, and there's no one to buy them anymore, then that industry goes out of business.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the demand side of it. And so if we really want to get serious about ending human trafficking in Iowa, we have to crack down, increase penalties for buyers, no more aggravated misdemeanor, slap on the wrist, 20 hours community service. Tell us who the girl was or tell us who the trafficker was, and we won't tell your wife. That has to end.
Yeah.
Okay. We have to get to demand
so
reduction.
Can you just share, like, a lot of us probably, I mean, I didn't know, like, right now, if there's a buyer for trafficking, like, say, sets up a meeting at a hotel room or whatever and uses some child, what is likely to happen is just a misdemeanor, and
if caught,
no prison time. Like, I'm saying, yeah, let's assume that the man is caught, and, like, I mean, no wonder why people do it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happens is aggravated misdemeanor, slap on the wrist, community service, give us some information and we won't tell your wife. I think is exactly what happens. I'm not in law enforcement, so I can't say that for sure. But I think that's kind of what happens, because the focus has not been traditionally in this country or in this state on demand reduction. It's been, let's go after the traffickers, the big bus, the big money. That all gets replaced. Exactly.
Yeah. So what can be done? Like, you're running for the legislature. Like, what would you do in Des Moines to, like, from a legislative perspective, like, to shore that up? Like, what needs to be done?
Yeah, we need increased penalties for buyers.
Okay.
Whether that's a Class C or Class D felony is certainly worth discussing. Probably depends.
But definitely make it a felony.
Yes, definitely needs to be a felony.
With jail time?
With jail time, yep, absolutely. And I think that these individuals need to get their faces blasted on billboards. So outside of every illicit massage business in the state, there's a billboard that says, John Doe works at Principal Financial, sells you your insurance, or does whatever. And also, on the side, he purchases 16-year-old girls who have been trafficked for sex. Jeez, yeah. And let's see if guys want to keep walking into that illicit massage business. Let's see if guys want to keep buying trafficked girls for sex. I don't think so. I think guys are going to get scared when guys are getting thrown in prison and their faces are blasted all over the billboard in Des Moines and all over the state. So that would be my approach. If we're going to get, it has to be demand reduction.
The government's got to do its part in that, and that's absolutely, like, those are all, like, viable solutions. I mean, but we also have to, from a church perspective and like people perspective, is like, well, a lot of the reason these people commit crimes and use people and traffic and all that is, like, well, Jesus says you are a slave to your sin. You're a slave to whatever's master you. So, like, we the people, if you're part of a church, if you're part of a family, if you're part of a community, we have to be part of that solution of, like, hey, guess what? Jesus is the way that you can overcome that lust that when it cracks the whip, you have to go scroll back page or whatever it is. So, like, the government must do its part, and we must, like, discipline and punish with, like, as appropriate. But what will happen if the people don't do our part is the government will get demoralized, and then eventually the government will just surrender back to where we've come from, which is, like, non-enforcement, no laws on the books, nothing, because people will have no hope, basically. So.
Yeah, we got to get the church involved. We got to get nonprofits involved as well.
Yeah.
Grassroots as well. That's kind of the story, I guess, of today.
Absolutely.
People need to continue to get more awareness on human trafficking. So for me, a third sort of piece of legislation that I would like to bring to the legislature is kind of copying that Baby Olivia bill.
Okay. And tell us what that is, because just for people who don't know.
The Baby Olivia bill is a pro-life bill that shows fetal development inside the womb.
Okay.
Fifth through 12th grade.
Oh, it's required to be presented in public schools.
Yep, in schools, in the school system. And I think that's a great, brilliant bill. Wonderful what they did. Let's copy that bill, and let's make the video now talking about sextortion, talking about the sexualization of children online, what you're going to encounter on social media.
Yeah. Being proactive about this is reality that you're going to have to deal with, student.
Exactly. Yeah. And we can say, well, we don't want our kids to learn about sextortion. Well, you're going to wish your kid learned about sextortion when they're getting sextorted.
Yep.
And that is happening all across our state on all sorts of apps, Snapchat, Minecraft, Instagram.
There's another rep running, or I can't remember what she's running for, but, like, she was telling me a story of somebody in her family that, like, just started texting some girl, and he was a young kid, like maybe in high school, and all of a sudden he didn't even do anything, but starts getting AI messages of him that are explicit, sexually explicit, and like so. now he's sextortion. Like he's, he's either going to send her money or whatever. I don't remember what this woman was trying to get out of him, but like, it's just like, this is a real thing. And once you are caught in that web, it would have been a lot better to be just know about it and be wise and avoid it from the beginning. So man, it's the internet's a minefield.
Oh, it is. And I think that layered approach of our educators now have that education. Our students now have an awareness and education of it. And then also our parents have an education of it as well, of what's going to be happening. Obviously, we need to hold big tech accountable on having some of these screening processes and things lined up.
It's like they don't even care. Or they...
Well, I don't know that they do care, do they?
Yeah. I mean, that's part of what's wrong with me is I tend to think with like, oh, well, surely people would have to care because it's just so awful. But some people don't.
Some people don't.
Some people just don't. They're heartless.
It can be about that bottom line sometimes. But especially the sextortion, it's similar but different topics. Sextortion important, very much related to trafficking, but the sexualization of our children online is a related but different topic. But if we're, kids are seeing graphic depictions of just terrible sexual things, rape, incest, murder.
Yeah.
And if young boys, all before they've even had their first kiss.
Yeah.
So if we're ever going to get serious about not just human trafficking, but sexual violence, domestic violence in the state of Iowa, it starts with the sextortion of our children online and making sure that they're not seeing these things and developing problematic sexual behaviors that leads to so many other issues.
Well, and the issue is, this is a whole nother thing, but like our educators and librarians and not all of them, but so many of them in the school, what's going on in the schools is just this explicit content that's being shown to like kids.
Yep.
And what I have heard, and maybe you can, I don't know if you're an expert on this, but like I think there's a carve out in the law that protects, like, for example, a librarian that lends a book to a fifth grader that has explicit content in it, that protects the librarian from prosecution. Because what it is it's giving pornography to a child. That's the reality. But our law protects them because I don't know what the justification is. It's like what? Hello? Like why would we allow that? And the same thing is for an educator that does that. So that's why these things are embedded in our schools, and it's why the courts won't do anything about it. And like, it's just like a tangled web, right?
Oh yeah, truly. And this doesn't solve all of that issue, but that inappropriate educational content in our libraries.
Yeah.
I personally believe the public library system is completely outdated. I think
we do have the internet now.
We do have the internet. We also have private bookstores.
True.
And so when we talk, and I think this is related to property taxes, we can get into that if you want, but some of these smaller type cities in the state, 5, 8, 10% of their budget is going towards their public library. Well, why do we need
5 to 10%?
5 to 10%.
To a public library?
A public library, right? And so if you want to talk about an immediate 5 to 10% reduction in your property taxes, that's a great way to start. But it also removes this whole conflict around inappropriate educational content in public libraries. If you want to start a woke, radical ideology library, private library, well, in Iowa, no one's going to go and you're going to go out of business. But that's your free market, private decision.
As long as you're not distributing pornography to children.
Yes. And if you want to operate a private bookstore where you're offering only conservative or faith-based content, then you can do that in the free market. Yeah. I think the public library system completely is outdated. It removes this or reduces this inappropriate educational content issue, but also helps the property tax reduction strategy.
Like there's so much that needs to be done out there. Like, I mean, do you ever get overwhelmed by it? Like,
not really. I'm just,
you're fired up. You're ready to go.
I'm fired up. I'm a history buff, student of the game. See what we can make better. And we've got a lot of things that at least the people of House District 45 want different or changed, and I think we can. Let's just do them all in one session. Let's go. Come on.
Yeah. What are you hearing from the people in your district? Like, so one of the things you've told me is 3,000 doors you're on. I think you're going to get 8,000 or 10,000 by the time.
Goal 7,000 before the primary, which hopefully would break a record. I'm trying to catch up to Sam Fett, absolute legend.
Yeah. Oh, and I love Samantha. Yeah,
took a lot of advice from her early on as well. So trying to get 7,000 before the primary, then we'll see what happens after that. But I mean, by and large, the number one issue that I've heard all across the district is property taxes.
Okay.
People want property tax reduction, especially when we're talking that northern part of the district where it's very rural.
Yep.
It's generational properties, generational homes, generational farms where they're
this
passing
gets back
it down.
to your American dream.
Exactly.
Owning,
That is the American dream, right? Passing it down to your kids, but that property continues, the value continues to appreciate, but they're not investing. They're not selling that property. They're not gaining anything from that appreciated value.
It's basically inflation that's causing it to appreciate.
It's just property taxes that are just rising for them.
Yeah.
And so it's driving these family properties, generational properties, these farmers into tighter financial situations. And that's the last thing that we want in the state of Iowa.
Taking away, it's the theft of your childhood, basically, from Iowans.
Yeah.
Like this system.
Exactly. Yeah. And at the end of the day, right, when we're talking about the American dream is land ownership.
Yeah.
Is renting your land in perpetuity to the government, is that land ownership? No. Was that the American dream? No. I don't think so. So not only do I want to reduce property taxes, ultimately I want to eliminate property taxes. And I think there's a lot of strategies from the outside looking in that are clear lines to get to that point. But I think when I get down there as well, I think I'll have other ideas, but property tax reduction, getting back to the American dream.
Yeah. And I mean, that ties into like some of the other issues that are like near and dear to our heart at Iowa Liberty Network. Like, the land in a county needs to be owned by the people that live in the county. You know, I think fundamentally, like maybe there's a little room for variation in that, but we don't need corporations to own it. And we certainly don't need like CO2 pipelines that come through and just take people's land because some private corporation is going to use it to get rich off of. Like, I mean, it's just like so frustrating. Like, I mean, just think about how much healthier a community is when everybody who lives in the community is invested in the community because they own a stake in the community, specifically the land. And how about this? What if we get back to the place where farms produce the food in the county that's eaten in the county? Like, I mean, that just seems like such an amazing thing.
Seems like a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
I think especially in the northeast part of Polk County, there's a lot of land that is not owned by the people of Polk, the individuals, the farmers of Polk County. And I think it's just killing our I was talking to a guy north part of Polk County. He said this is just killing sort of our young farmers who want to kind of start off with one of their farms, maybe try to get something for below market value. Yeah. But how is a young farmer just starting out, going to compete with the taxpayer dollar? Because the taxpayer dollar ends up purchasing those farms through the government. So that's something that we have to look at and get a change in. Yeah,
it's like it gets back to like Declaration of Independence. What's the purpose of government? To secure the rights of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness is that would encompass you get to own your land. Yeah.
Well, I would even say, that was Thomas Jefferson. If you look at where Thomas Jefferson likely got that, I would say it was from John Locke. And John Locke, the line was life, liberty, and property. Yeah. And so that is absolutely inherent to the Declaration of Independence and the American dream, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's indisputable, especially if you look at like the context in which all of that stuff was developed. And I mean, I was talking to my brother the other day about he did kind of a deep dive into like what it is, land law, and like why people came to America and what the deal was with land. Well, you've heard the term landlord, right? Yeah. Well, that comes from Europe, I guess. And what it meant is you're the lord of the land, which means the right that you have over the land comes from God and nobody can take it from you. So it was huge news to people in Europe who had nothing that in the land of opportunity, if you can get to America, you can be the lord of your land. Yeah. And there's this thing in our law, and I think it still exists, it's called a land patent, where if you get it, you don't got to be beholden to the EPA. You don't got to be beholden to anybody. You can do whatever you want on your land. You can do whatever you want with the water, with any of that stuff. And so, like, that's where we came from as Americans. And I love that, but the other side of it is like we also have a responsibility, right? There's what's been taken from us on the property side, but like what have we surrendered? You know, like we're as a people, I would argue, pretty irresponsible in terms of the debt we carry and the like. Just we don't always make the best financial decisions. Which, if you're in debt, then it does expose you to losing generational farms or whatever. So like. You talked about the government side, but like, what is like, you know, do you have any lessons from like your own family and just, you know, like how we as a people can do our part of like, we have to, like, you're wearing the Iowa flag. Our liberties we prize and our rights we will maintain, right? Well, how do we maintain this stuff? Like, what's our part as the people?
Oh, wow. That's quite a question. I mean, I think one lesson that I learned from my family is just hard work. And so my grandpa, like I said, grew up in the Woodside Saydell School District, came from True Grit. Yeah. John would talk about the John Wayne movie. Grew up with grit and developed and built a home building business on his own with his wife, my grandma, and truly developed something through hard work and grit and developed the American dream, right? Yeah. He had a business, he had a farm, he had a family, right? It was truly beautiful. And I think that's something that was passed down generationally in our family.
And what's the responsibility with that you've inherited?
To carry that on, I think. To carry on not just the principles and the foundational strength that he passed on, but also the hard work and the responsibility that comes with all of that.
To honor those who have gone before, we have to carry that forward.
Absolutely.
And like, it's not going to be the same journey that grandpa walked or dad walked or mom or whatever. It's like there's a new journey, but they laid there's, you know, those of us who have inherited like these blessings, we have a responsibility. And collectively as a nation, we've inherited a lot. And we must embrace that and take the responsibility of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And one thing that my grandpa, you know, all these memories on the farm were a lot of them were with him. And he would introduce me the same way to everyone. You know, I'm just a kid. Yeah. This is Austin. This is my grandson. He's the hardest working kid you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I try to honor today in everything that I go after, whether it's career, whether it's the political realm, whether it was sports back in the day. So I think if we could have a little bit more grit and hard work in our society, I think that would be beneficial.
Discipline, like
anyone.
The government can do the best things in the world, and if the people don't step up and do it, I mean, this is well documented in the writings of the founders. Is like this form of government is designed for people who are like faithful, godly, hardworking, disciplined. Like what I mean, there's many different ways of describing it. And if we just don't do that, we will surrender the blessing of God and of our forefathers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said.
We can't do that. We just must not. Please, if you're listening, don't do that. So, I mean, what else? I mean, I love hearing your stories. I love like the potential of having you like as, you know, representing the people of Iowa and Des Moines. Like, I feel like we need more reps like you and like people that just with the grit and like who want to fight for like the nitty gritty details that need to change and make it, you know, like the government needs to serve the people again, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing we haven't talked too much about is this woke ideology.
Oh, please. Let them have it.
This is my number one issue. I'm walking through North High School. North's the polar bears is their mascot.
Did I read correctly that you once shot a bear?
I did.
Okay, we'll have to come back to that. Polar bear. We'll have to come. Yeah, definitely not a polar bear, but we'll come back to that. Yeah,
great, can't wait. So walking down, you know, the hallway at North, they're the polar bears, and on the guidance counselor's door, there's one photo. And it's a picture of a black polar bear giving a hug to clearly a young baby transgender flag colored polar bear.
Oh my goodness.
And this is not what our kids need.
Yeah.
They need an education. They don't need woke ideology shoved down their throat. And this to me, it hits on so many levels. Is the left is always the same on their narrative, and they have been for decades and generations. Oppressor versus oppressed.
Yep.
Who the oppressor is.
The playbook of the Bolsheviks
changes,
and
right?
The People's Liberation Army in China, all that.
Could be based on your gender, could be based on your race, could be based on your income level.
Divide,
but it's always
divide.
Oppressor versus oppressed. But tell me, if you're taking an entire generation and brainwashing them with an ideology instead of giving them an education, who's the oppressor in that situation?
Yeah.
Seriously. And so I think we have to get this ideology out of our school systems. Yeah. Obviously, we need to get back to improving our education.
And just think about it. I'm remembering the story of your grandfather. This is Austin. He's the hardest worker I know. Or like a child has an identity bestowed upon them. Like, right? That is meant to come from our parents, really our fathers. And like, if we shatter the family and send our students to government schools, and the government schools are intentionally bestowing a perverse identity that perverts what God made a little girl or a little boy to be. Like, I mean, for one thing, we are beholden to the living God for like a gross mismanagement of what our responsibility as a society. But like, we also have to like realize like a child doesn't, I mean, there is an inherent identity that comes from God, but they're looking for us in the older generations to like bestow that on them too. Like it made it easy when you come from a family with a grandfather and parents and stuff that say, give hardworking and moral, loving, like that sort of identity. Well, that sets you up for success. It sets you up for failure if you go down to the principal's office and you have a trans polar bear and you, I was just talking to this guy from Council Bluffs the other day, and he was talking about, he has a daughter and she was, needed some counseling in the school, and they basically, what he ended up discovering after they'd been at it for a few sessions is they were coaching his daughter down the path of, do you feel comfortable in your own body? And are you, maybe you're not in the right body. Are you sure? Like, and then he had like got some, he had prayed for her and maybe got like a religious like medal or something and said, hey, like if you're feeling like unsafe, like just hold on to this and pray, like just kind of something to like remember God by, is what his idea was. And so they reported him to Child Protection Services for this, and they tried to stick the government on him. So like,
wow.
There is an effort to like intentionally pervert the true purpose for government, which is to secure the rights of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and to pervert, and not only to just make the government not do what it's supposed to do, but to weaponize it to do the exact opposite. Yeah. And that's just like, that's got to end.
It's got to end. It has to end. We got to get back to biological truth.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Foundational principle. But have you ever heard of a tomboy?
Yeah.
Does anyone, remember what a tomboy is?
Yeah.
I haven't heard this word or phrase used in like 15, 20 years.
Yeah, Pippi Longstockings.
I mean, we got to get back to the tomboy.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's not the right word, but these gals that are maybe a little bit tougher, that work on the farm, that grow up wearing jeans instead of whatever else, like these are good 4-H, FFA girls all across the state. I don't know what it's called for the boys, but
I mean, we
got to get back to that. You're still a girl. We still love you. You're incredible how the way you are. You're not a boy.
Yes.
And we got to get back to the tomboy. That's not the right phrase of the slogan, but the principle remains.
Absolutely. I mean, we're the descendants of Laura Ingalls Wilder and the pioneers. And like these women are like going on the Oregon Trail while they're pregnant and stuff. Like, I mean, we have some of the toughest, grittiest women of anywhere in the world that like helped civilize America. And embracing that and like celebrating what it is to be a tomboy or whatever you want to label that is like totally like just accept that like there's a lot of variation in what God made each one of us to be.
Absolutely.
So we got to get to the bear story. I want to know about like so are you a hunter?
I mean, I hunted from mostly my grandpa's little I don't know, trailer from the window, I guess.
Okay. But it is true that you shot a bear at one point.
It is true, yes. For my 18th birthday, my dad gave each of the boys a special moment, something they wanted to do. Mine got postponed until I was 22 or 23.
Okay.
Just got busy, I think, mostly with sports in high school and college.
Yeah.
And so we went out to, I think, Menaki, Canada, in the middle of nowhere.
Where's Menaki? Way up north, probably.
I don't know. Way out, way away. And we went up there, and actually, my grandma came along with us.
Really?
Oh yeah, she's an absolute legend. And so we were kind of like fishing during early morning hours and catching, I mean, I'm telling you,
trout, like
huge fish. I kid you not. I'm just like tossing it over, and like 2 seconds later, I'm pulling in like another massive one that's too big to keep because of the regulation. But anyways, and then in the evening we'd go out and we'd hunt. And so the first day they're like, all right, Austin, you've got two options. You can go up in the stand in the tree, or you can stay on the ground. I said, I'll be on the ground. Thank you very much. And I get there, and it's just, I mean, it's literally a lawn chair. I'm in a little bit of a brush, and the bait's like 50 yards away. And they're like, you know, most likely he's going to come from behind you or from over there. I said, he's going to come from behind me? How am I going to see him coming? They're like, oh, you won't. He's going to see you. Just be very still, and then eventually he'll get to the bait, and you're going to see him. I'm like, I don't like the sound of this one bit.
Goodness, yeah.
And sure enough, you know, it's like, you know, because you're out for like 8-10 hours.
Yeah.
And sure enough, you know, I'm there like day 1, day 2, day 3, and
you're just doing nothing but
just doing nothing, just like waiting for the bear to sneak up from behind me. And sure enough, like day 4 or whatever it was, the bear comes up from behind me, and I turn around or kind of like tilts my head, and it's just like 15 yards away, just staring at me. And I'm like, oh, this is it. I'm gonna sling, I'm gonna fire, I'm gonna miss, and then I'm gonna get mauled by a bear. This is great. And so, like, true revenant opportunity here. Sure enough, it did exactly what they said. Went for the bait and lined it up, and it was a nice, clean shot. It ran less than like 5 yards because it was a good kill shot.
It was a perfect shot, of course. Yeah,
sure. You said it on me. And that was the story. We dragged it out of the forest and ate some of the meat.
I mean, that's pretty cool. Black bear?
Yeah, black bear.
Black bear. That's the grizzlies are a little more dangerous, I guess. You don't want them sneaking up behind you.
No, thank you. I'll be way up for the grizzly.
Well, what else, Austin? Is there anything else that we need to hit for you today? Any other policy issues or anything to do with your district that we need to be on?
We talked about a lot of the important issues that I've seen in House District 45, a lot of the issues that are important to me, and just going to keep working hard these last 4 months.
Yep.
It's crazy that there's only 4 months because I started this journey, you know, a while ago.
Yeah.
There's 4 months left into the election, and we just got to get conservatives down at the Capitol that are going to hold firm, real conservatives.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. So yeah, everybody get out and vote for Austin Stubbs if you're from his district. So tell people where they can find you.
Yeah.
Online or anywhere else.
Yeah, just austinstubbsforiowa.com.
Okay.
Or feel free to email me, Austin, I think it's austinforiowa at Gmail.
Yep.
Or text me. My phone number is anywhere and everywhere. I pass it out on all the postcards, all the doors. 515-954-9413. Just text me. I'd love to connect. Or message me on Facebook, follow our social media. I'm not a social media guy.
Yeah.
And so
you got to be now, though.
I had to be. We got things going. We're trying to relate to Gen Z a little bit, but it's all about getting conservatives out, unifying them, but also getting Gen Z out. Gen Z needs young millennials that are going to stand firm on values and say, Gen Z, follow us. We're not going along with that. We got to keep Iowa.
They need that identity. They need we need to infuse Iowa into our next generation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for doing that. Our liberties we prize, and our rights we will maintain.
That's right.
Thank you very much, Austin.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Yep.